Tattoos, a world of culture, culture of the world. First of all, a tattoo is a mark that is made by injecting ink into the dermal layer of the skin. Tattoos are permanent and exist in many cultures around the world today, including our own. The physical act of tattooing has existed for over 1,000 years. Different cultures have different methods and styles to tattooing. Tattooing appeared on Earth spontaneously in three distinct remote locations: the Maori of the Indo-Pacific Islands, Germanic barbarians, as well as Scandinavian Norsemen and Italian Romans in Western Europe, and on the islands of Japan. The Maori people of New Zealand are famous for their tattooing style, which provides much of the inspiration and basis for the tribal designs of today's tattoos. The designs of the Maori are famous for their intricacy as well as for their unique choice in the placement. The facial tattoo of the Maori is considered a great honor. Tattooing in Europe started in Scandinavia, with Viking warriors known as berserkers who were famed to fly into such a battle rage that they were dangerous to their comrades. The Celts, a group of Germanic barbarians living in what is today Scotland and Ireland, used intricate designs, especially knots, in their marriage ceremonies. In the Roman Empire, tattoos were used to identify soldiers who served the empire in the legions. The letters SPQR were tattooed on the upper left forearm. SPQR stood for Senatus Populesque Romani, or for the Senate and people of Rome. Tattooing in Japan arrived later in the global spectrum of history, but served a very distinct purpose. Members of the Japanese Yakuza would be tattooed in bodysuits. Yakuza is the Japanese equivalent to the mafia. Although tattooing is gaining popularity among young people in Japan, many tattooed people are denied service around the nation due to its dark history. So why do people get tattooed? Depending on your culture, many societies and groups require tattoos to be earned. They're a reward for an action or accomplishment. Tattoos are served as status markers, especially in the Japanese Yakuza, where the more tattoos you have, the higher in the Yakuza hierarchy you are. In Europe, the art of tattooing died out with the rise of the Catholic Church and the fall of the Roman Empire. However, in the late 15th and 16th centuries, during Europe's imperial period, sailors returned from the East Indies with tattoos. The famous explorer and cartographer, Captain Cook, brought back tattooed Polynesian people from Hawaii to Europe to be gawked at and exhibited in museums. In America, tattoos were largely considered taboo. Very few average Joes sported ink. For the most part, tattoos were reserved for sailors, criminals, and circus freaks. So now you must be thinking to yourself, if tattoos were taboo in American culture for so long, why are they popular now? Tattoos really received a boost as in part of the American counterculture of the 1960s, especially in the punk rock music scene where youth sported tattoos of their favorite bands as well as slogans and anti-political sentiments. Music as a whole became a new breeding ground for tattoo enthusiasm and was a medium for spreading tattoos. Today, tattooing is very common and accepted practice in America, as well as in most places around the world. Many people, especially young people, choose to have their bodies tattooed, if not once, then multiple times. Tattooing is said to be a very addicting process. However, in Japan, there are still very reserved, conservative thoughts toward tattoos. So if you are tattooed and take a vacation to Japan, do not be surprised if people treat you very rudely. So I want you to ask yourselves these questions. Can you name 3 factors of which caused attitude changes toward tattoos among the world? What groups of people still don't accept tattoos? We've mentioned the Japanese. Can you think of any others? Do you know anyone with tattoos? Parents, older siblings, cousins, yourself perhaps? Tattoos are applied to the skin in various methods. Depending on the culture and training of the tattoo artist, today most modern tattooing is done using a motorized needle gun that rapidly injects ink into the skin. However, in ancient times, these motorized needle guns did not exist, and people had to get creative. The Vikings used a bone needle and a string soaked in ink to stitch the tattoo into the skin. The Japanese used a 3-pronged fork that they dipped into ink and then tapped repeatedly with a hammer to place the ink in the skin. Tattoos weren't always used for decorative body art. During World War II, during the Holocaust, Nazi forces tattooed Jewish and other prisoners when they began to move them into ghettos and force them in their forced deportations. Today, American criminal gang culture also awards tattoos to members who commit certain heinous crimes, especially those associated with racism, hate crimes, as well as murder. Today, tattoos are ingrained in America's pop culture. There are even television shows dedicated to tattoo artists and their tattoo shops. Professional athletes are also very often tattooed. However, this is not a result of being solely an athlete. Tattoos are very popular among low-income environments and inner-city places. So now that you know a little bit about the history and cultures associated with tattooing, you might be interested in getting a tattoo yourself. Here's some things to remember. Tattoos are permanent. Even laser removal therapy has a very good chance of leaving you with scars. If you choose to get a tattoo in a very visible place, remember that it will very much likely hamper your ability to find a job, especially in the corporate world, the education world, or any sort of customer service position. No matter how clean, how careful, how well respected the tattoo artist and tattoo parlor is, there's always a risk that you can receive some sort of infection from the needle, from the table you're being tattooed on, from the ink. There's a good chance you could be allergic to the ink. So tattooing is a very intricate process and is something that should be very well researched before you decide to do anything. Thanks, guys.